Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder, and today we are on part 109 of Life Beyond the Grave, which is attached to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Guys, before we get started, I put a lot of work into this, and if you wouldn't mind showing your appreciation by hitting the like button, hit the subscribe or the notification bell to get notifications whenever we have new uploads. So we left off with finding out that Alex Cox, he's more and more on board and actually been deemed or titled Lori Vallow's protective angel. Now remember, Chad, Lori, Melenie, Boudreaux, Melanie Gibbs, Zalima all go to the temple and receive messages in which you don't hear this term very often, but it's basically they're receiving ministry of the angels. This is to help them, assist them in ushering in things like the dispensations, the second coming of Christ. So this is like past biblical heroes, I guess you could say, Adam, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, and Moses. In the Mormon religion, there were dispensations among the Nephites and the Jaredites. Let's not forget about the lost tribes. Many of these people consider themselves, like Moses, to carry a holy priesthood in which they can dispense the gospel to others and reign in the new millennium with a new message from the heavens. And it seemed that Lori and Chad's job, which we've mentioned multiple times, is to gather people, create these tent cities, prepare for God's second coming, and I still say they were planning on building a temple. With the powers of priesthood, you must have protectors. And so Lori especially is assigned several angelic protectors, or at least translated beings. So that would be Zalima and Alex Cox. They are definitely supporters of ministering angels, which a lot of times you will find these type of angels ministering to those who are in spirit prison. What we have learned last podcast is that Lori was comparing herself to Layman and Lemanuel. These are not the right examples you want to follow or even be seen following. They had angels appear to them, warning them to stop their nonsense. These two brothers, they were basically abusing their siblings. They were disrespectful in every way possible, didn't believe in God's word, basically. And no matter how many times they have, spoken to an angel, they just refused to believe in that angelic wisdom or visit. So why would Lori and Alex be like these two brothers? As we get deeper into the timeline, you will find out. Now, according to the sources I'm going over, Mormons believe in guardian angels and that they surround us all the time. And remember that Joseph Smith, it was September 21st, remember those dates, that Moroni had actually visited him and wanted him to restore God's church on earth. In the Mormon religion, it is said that, God will send help to those who deserve it. And angels are sent to strengthen and comfort you throughout your trials or life. In the past, several Mormons actually had earthly protectors, just like Lori claims she has, that were basically angelic bodyguards. We won't be able to go into this very much, but back in the 1800s, there was a guy, he was basically like Alex Cox. He was referred to as Old Port, the destroying angel of Mormondom. Considered a good friend to Joseph Smith and later Brigham Young, he continued to be a bodyguard as Brigham Young took over leading the church. Now let's go ahead and skip ahead and talk a little bit about how Audrey feels about this time period. It's from the beginning of January into February and on that she starts learning some new, interesting ideas. Remember the zombies and how Charles Vallow was a zombie and Tylee was becoming a zombie. Aubrey explains a little bit of how she understood this.
Basically, at that time, Chad brought up an idea that, according to him, that if the spirit was in someone's body, that they were somehow being held prisoner. And like an idea of a cage or something. Okay. Like a jail.
So the first time you participated in something like this was in the summertime in Utah. Is that right?
Yes.
And who was that for?
That was for Charles.
And do you recall when Charles died?
I was traveling in Europe for about a month, and that was in July, so it would have been July 2019.
Okay. And after doing this other work in Missouri on Tammy, do you recall ever hearing Lori express frustration or have an explanation for why someone might have remained dark or why they were doing this multiple times?
Yes, it's like if it didn't work, at least to me, it seemed like if it didn't work, it's like she came up with a new idea. Like, it didn't work because of this. Or, it just seemed like it was like, oh, it's because of this, and then, oh, there's this other thing, and then, oh, and that, oh, it was another spirit that got in, and it just seemed like it, I don't know, would just keep going and going and going.
So it's kind of hard to get Aubrey's testimony in order because it just hops so much, but we'll do our best. Now remember, Chad, he's starting to put his conferences on the back burner. He had a family emergency not long ago. At least that's what he told Preparing the People. And he wouldn't be able to do the conference. We don't know if he went back home. We don't know what he did, but Melenie Gibb mentions Salt Lake City, and that's where that conference would have been, and this is what she had to say.
They were to go to temples together, that's what she said. There was another time she left town, but she indicated she went to Salt Lake, but my guess is she didn't. I don't know, she indicated she went to Salt Lake, so I don't know if they met up there or what happened there. She didn't tell me if they got together there, but...
I don't know if Jack moved a strike.
But while Lori is saying that she is, going back to Charles, she's in Texas, well, guess what? These two are still meeting.
Did Lori ever tell you directly that she and Chad would meet at hotels or motels?
Yes.
And did they actually meet did she tell you that they met at hotels?
Yes.
Did she tell you that they would meet at motels?
I don't remember the wording exactly.
One of the two?
Yeah, right.
Did Lori ever indicate to you whether or not she and Chad were engaged in an affair?
She would just share that they were intimate.
Was this while Charles was still alive?
Yes.
Was this while Tammy was still alive?
Yes.
We learned that, according to Lori and Chad, they have been married multiple times in multiple lives, and since they're on the same mission together, it was okay to have these intimate relationships. The way that Lori sees things is that the Lord God, Jesus Christ, He's going to protect her through every step she takes. No matter what she faces, He's going to protect her from whatever it is that is attacking her at the time. There will be more castings in an attempt to try to get rid of the zombie and Charles' body. And Melenie Gibb suggests that, Lori Vallow knows basically what she wants people to say, and she's talking to them about it before they even start.
Do you know who organized the castings that you participated in?
Lori.
Were there any assignments given during those castings?
I think she tried to talk to them about what they could potentially say during that time. Yeah.
And when you say she, was that Lori?
Yes.
And we also talked about the light and dark scale.
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit about light and dark. I have some knowledge, and I think that this might be interesting to flesh out a little bit for the jurors. So tell me a little bit about light and dark. You indicated, I think, that someone can switch between being light and being dark.
They indicated that to me, yes.
They indicated that to you?
Chad and Lori, yes.
All right. And you never believed any of that?
At times, I wondered if it was true. I wasn't 100% convinced.
Okay. But you were involved in casting out of dark spirits, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you believed it somewhat?
Like I said, somewhat, but not completely.
Okay.
I don't think they believed it at first, too, because they didn't know what they were trying to accomplish.
Well, when they were asking, when the prosecutor, Ms. Lindsay Blake, was asking you about who you had told about light and dark, and then she specifically mentioned the absence of Brandon Bedreau, you had said, and I guess I can't quote you, but I think you said we, and then you corrected yourself, and then you said Chad and Lori were the ones who were doing that, right?
But they were in charge of doing that.
Okay. But you had injected yourself, right?
It was just an accident word.
Freudian slip? Okay. You talked a little bit about the first casting out of an evil spirit that you did. Involved Lori, Zulema, Christina, yourself, and somebody else. Is that right? I wasn't fast enough writing them down.
Those people, yes. I might have been one more person.
Who was the other person?
Did you say Nicole?
I did not, so that must have been the other person, huh? Who's Nicole?
A friend of Christina's, which were both friends of Lori's.
And was Christina there as well?
Yes,
Christina, okay. And what's Nicole's last name?
I'm not remembering. I didn't know her very well.
Okay. What's Christina's last name?
Atwood.
Atwood. And was this casting done in someone's home, or was it done in the temple, or where was it done?
It was done in homes, yes. I don't think it was done in the temple.
Okay. And what would this look like? I mean, what would a casting look like?
Lori would, most of the time. Maybe not the first time, but generally it was just people standing up, and I don't remember if people held hands or not. I don't remember that. Just basically kind of stood in a circle together or lined up around, and just be in the same room together.
Mm-hmm. And then what would happen?
And then she would try to express her castings out by her knowledge, whatever she could think of, maybe terminology that she gained from either energy work or maybe scriptural, those kind of things. I don't recall the words. And I think her friends would try to come up with something that they thought was helpful, and it generally sounded like something you would say in energy work. That's how I can explain it.
Okay. And what's your familiarity with energy work?
So I had a little bit of energy work done to me through a person who, it's called a motion code, where they ask the body questions, and often they would talk about how you were, connected to your ancestors, or you had different emotions going on in your body, and they would try to release it through they call it muscle testing, things like that. But some of the practitioners would sometimes able to communicate with spirits on the other side, as if they like deceased ancestors or people like that. And so they kind of had their own language. I was never an energy worker, so I don't, remember all those words, but I just remember that was my experience.
So just to clarify, and I'm still a little bit confused about what went on in these castings. I think we established that it was a prayer, and each person would say a little part of that prayer. Is that how it would work?
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe you indicated something about disconnecting cords or trying to convince the spirit to leave the body.
Yes.
And it was all done with prayer?
Well, I think you can call it prayer. It's my best word.
Okay. You're praying to God or your Heavenly Father to try to help you to get this evil spirit out of this person, or heal this person, or do something like that. Is that right? That's where you were going with that?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't want to put any words in your mouth. Okay. Let's talk about zombies. So, you had heard Lori use the term zombie, right?
Correct.
This wasn't the first time that you've heard the word zombie, right?
Oh, it's a worldwide word. Correct.
Right. And it's been around for a while, at least the 1960s from what I can see, right?
I believe so. I don't know when it started, but
You've heard it growing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, when Lori talked about zombies, did you immediately think that they were going to die?
No.
Okay. What were your thoughts about that?
It was a bizarre teaching. I believe Lori thought it was bizarre at first too. It was very something she'd never heard of in the context of how it was explained to her through Chad.
Okay. Do you recall making the statement or writing down a statement indicating that Tylee had been a zombie since she was 12 or 13 years old?
So yes, but what that means is when she was claimed to be a zombie, Chad would let her know that she truly became a zombie years ago. But that knowledge was, she was sharing it as she was 16 or 17. She was saying that, she became not a zombie right then, but he was trying to say she had actually turned it when she was about 12 or 13.
So that's what Chad said to you and Lori?
To Lori.
To Lori, and then Lori related to you?
Correct.
Okay.
Here's what's interesting about Tylee becoming a zombie. Lori is agreeing to the fact that even if Chad come up with it, that she had been a zombie since she was 12 years old. So when she became a teenager, from then on, she was developing her own personality, her own thoughts, and that's when she became a zombie. As each day goes by, there's more and more zombies. So now Charles Vallow is a zombie. Tylee Ryan is a zombie. And a new addition, Brandon Boudreaux.
You indicated that Brandon Boudreaux was a dark spirit, is that right? Or he had a dark spirit?
According to their beliefs, yes.
Okay. And then he moved to even a higher level of darkness. He was part of Hitler's group during the World War, is that right?
Correct.
And had you ever met Brandon Boudreaux?
I had.
Before Charles's death?
Yes.
Okay. Did that jive with you, that he was a dark spirit?
I thought it just was continually bizarre. There's moments where he's 1 minute this, and now he's this, and then he's really this, and it would go deeper into just different explanations of how much they would change into darker.
And this was kind of an ongoing thing with different people?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay.
Melanie avoiding the question altogether as she usually does, and they allow it. I don't know why they do. I would go back and ask the same question again and not allow it. So, but anyways, she's saying that she thought it was bizarre, but she continues to hang out with these people. So what's going on with that? This must be entertainment or enjoyable for her. Let's place Jesus Christ in Melanie Gibbs' shoes. If Jesus Christ was there and he was witnessing all this, and do you think that he would just stand by and allow it to happen? Absolutely not. So how is it that these people can compare themselves to supporters of Jesus Christ? I'll never understand.
I believe you said something about Tylee was told sometime between February and June that she went dark. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So she hadn't been a dark spirit the whole time. She just became dark sometime between February and June of 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is important for you guys to understand, because many people have tried to say the reason Tylee became dark is because she witnessed what happened to Charles in the future. That's impossible. There was a lot more to it, and I believe it has something to do with the fact that Lori never cared for this child. The fact that she belonged to Joseph Ryan, which was Lori's worst enemy for years and years. But that's my opinion. Melanie Gibb will say that she never, prayed at castings for either Tylee or JJ. What is very interesting is the fact that Melanie Gibb shows up the weekend that JJ turns into a zombie, which is in the future, but I want to mention this, and I've often wondered, we've never heard of this podcast. Was this an actual casting? And I think that's what investigators were thinking themselves. Another person that will enter the story is David Warwick. This will be Melanie's boyfriend, and he will actually be brought into the circle by Melanie Gibb. And I want to just mention this, and he won't actually come into this group of people until after Charles is out of the picture, just in case I forget to add that in. So just want to let you guys know that. Now, it is around this time that, according to Audrey, Chad is talking more about past lives. So mortal probations.
Now, you mentioned when you talked on the phone with Chad and Laura, you talked about religious stuff, spiritual stuff. Did they talk about other spiritual or religious teachings with you? Besides what we've already kind of covered.
Yes.
Did they talk to you about prior lives or probations that Lori and he had?
Yes.
What do you remember about that?
He said that he had been Methuselah, and he said that he had been an apostle at the time of Jesus Christ, James.
Okay. And do you recall if Lori and Chad indicated a belief that they had been married in previous lives?
Yes.
Do you know what names they claimed to have in that prior life?
I don't remember about the time when he said he was Methuselah. I remember that she was somehow around, according to them at that time. But I remember that he indicated that they'd been married at that time when he said that he was an apostle.
And he said he was who?
James.
And do you recall who he said Lori was?
His wife. And he said her name was Elena.
Elena or Elena?
Elena.
Okay. At some point, did you move away from Utah?
Yes, I did.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Missouri.
Okay, so you got an idea that Chad believed that he was Methuselah. So one of the oldest or longest living biblical humans ever. And remember, guys, that many times I will mention the King Solomon, his temple, Enoch, Nephi, the building of that temple. Because see, what I'm learning, and I've been uncovering that as I've been making these last few series, that Chad Daybell seemed to have an infatuation with King Solomon the temples, Nephi and the temples, for quite a while. And it seems that Lori is kind of following along that lines as well. So I'm really struggling to try to hurry up and put that puzzle together, because that puzzle, I feel, is very, very important for understanding, what Chad's desires were, where his goals were coming from. Now, remember Lamech and Lemanuel? Well, there's a Lamech that is supposed to be the child of Methuselah. And here's what a lot of these people have in common, including Enoch, Moses, in the book of Moses, etc., is God has a promise that their descendants will always be on earth forever and ever and ever. So you got to remember, before Lori come along, this was something Chad talked about often, is his kids carrying on for him as, the children did for the biblical, I don't know how to say it, leaders or prophets. And I won't have time to go into it right now, at least, but go look up the family lineage for Enoch, for Methuselah, for Nephi, and that might help you understand some of where some of this is coming from. And the temple comes to play in this case, and I'm just really struggling to quickly put that together for you guys. Like I said, it's been difficult trying to do this timeline, update it, and also discover the new information of what, was probably guiding these guys. What was their goals? Why were they doing what they were doing? But each temple that was built through Solomon, Nephi, etc., and so on, was also referred to as Jerusalem. We do know that Methuselah was the great-great-great-grandson of Seth, the child of Adam and Eve, the father of Lamech, and also the grandfather of Noah. But interestingly, his son Lamech was one of the first to practice polygamy. So I'm going to hold off here because, as you can tell, I haven't quite put this puzzle together yet, but I'm working on it. During this time, Zelima and Lori are texting back and forth, and they're using their gifted powers to attack or assault people. Okay, here's the interesting thing. June 2nd, Charles is supposedly driving. This is something that Lori texts. She says he's driving now, and today is the day. So she believes today is the day that Charles is supposed to die. Remember, I have trouble putting into the timeline when Charles is supposed to die in that car wreck. And it seems that Lori is very adamant that this is going to happen, that today is the day, this is the day that Charles is going to go. So she helps, she asks Zelima to help her, use some of their gifts in order to help make this happen. 11:55, Zelima to Lori, I'm ready. 11:56, Lori to Zelima, let's go now. 12:07, Zelima to Lori, that is powerful. I am still sending fire. Lori to Zelima, yes, it is. I am blinding him with light. So what does this mean? Well, this is no longer seeming like they're talking about just getting rid of the spirit. This is like they're blinding Charles' physical body so that they will get in a wreck. Zelima to Lori, oh, that's awesome. Lori to Zelima, I'm feeling it big time. Raphael is with us. Remember, Raphael is Chad. Zelima to Lori, I feel him. Lori to Zelima, did he leave? I can't see him. I felt like I was chasing him because I saw me running after someone. At 12:17 p.m., Lori to Zelima, get him. Yes. Okay. This is truly happening. These are two adults that sound like they're playing Dungeons and Dragons. And they're very desperate to get that evil spirit. According to Zelima, June 2nd of 2019, she was given instructions to rip, tear, and burn the heck out of Hiplos to let the body energy out. Chad even sent her a message that day thanking her for the help with Hiplos. Lori and Zelima also talked about being ready, sending the fire, which we already went over, and blinding him with light. But for Zelima, she testified all of these attacks were a spiritual thing. It was like spiritual burning. It was never physical burning. June 3rd, there are texts between Lori and Charles. Lori had actually left Texas, I don't know how long, but she returns around June 3rd of 2019. At that point, she has texts that JJ had just got home and went to sleep. And she's wanting to spiritually attack or work on Charles again. And that they need to be more persistent with this spirit, attacking the spirit. They said they don't want to relent. This is war. Now, there is mention that Lori did try to poison Charles Vallow at some point with JJ's medication. So that's what we were told. Also, around this time, Tammy Daybell's family noticed that Chad is much different during the summer. Chad wasn't talking to the family members as often. He just seemed very distant. Tammy's sister Samantha says, we didn't know what was going on. We just didn't understand. For Sam, she said it was just really different. So while Lori is back in Texas with Charles, JJ, I'm assuming Tylee was there as well. A lot of people who follow this case believe that she was there to learn information in order to be financially okay once she made those plans happen. She had planned for Charles not to be here. And it's around this time that they're saying that Lori crushes JJ's medicine, puts it into Charles' protein drink. And this is the same time that she is suspected of trying to change Charles' insurance policies. This is old information that I had when I was trying to put it together. So I've not had time. We've caught up to the point to where I cannot update any longer. So I'm having to sloppily go through this. Now, here's the thing I was worried about. It seemed that JJ was being so neglected that he's missing his medication. He's just not getting the love and medication treatment that he should be getting around this time, because Lori just could care less. Okay, and so we're told that it's around 10 pills that she actually crushed up and put into Charles' protein drink. And the fact that she told people that she'd done this, those people that knew about this should be in jail along by Lori and Chad, but they're not. So I've not had time to look into exactly what that medicine was, and I'm sure they said it in trial, but I'm behind now, guys. Now, something interesting I want to share with you guys is on Asmodeus. As you know, I believe that Chad was more following Satan than he was God. 13 years. Every 13 years, Asmodeus gathers the other 8 archdevils to discuss infernal politics and be told his will. Now, Chad often talks about this holy council, with the archangels being part of that. And there was a lot more research I did that was quite interesting with Asmodeus, what it has to do with end days and magic, but I'm not going to have time to go into that. What I can tell you is Zelima seems to hold the role of Rovagug, which seeks only to destroy creation, the gods. His increasingly relentless stirrings are taken by many to be the cause of volcanic activities and earthquakes. So in June, this will be one of the last family gatherings for Chad Daybell. He will actually celebrate his mom's birthday in Utah. A lot of this information comes from Chad's sister-in-law, Heather Daybell, and for some reason she does not seem to care about Tammy. I don't understand that, and claims that, you know, Tammy isn't real talkative and she must be having one of her depressive episodes. Let me say right now, oh yeah, she was having depressive episodes. She was going through hell. She was being manipulated and she knew her husband was cheating. But for Heather, she said she just notices that, you know, Tammy and Chad are not really sitting together at church, and Tammy's just got her head down. So it's at this point, you know, that Chad is falling to pieces financially, his marriage, anything that touches Lori turns to mush. All right, guys, I'm really trying hard to put this together quickly, and my apologies that I'm kind of stumbling because I'm doing this live. You know, I'm just live. There's no retakes. This is it. I want to say thank you so much for those of you who have been a great support, and I love you guys. Don't forget to share some of the faces that we have on our channel that their cases are still just cold. There's nothing new coming forward, especially for people like Jasmine Robinson. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next upload.